What's up? This is Elia Einhorn. Welcome to the Talkhouse podcast. This is a bumper episode where we take a look back at 2017 and the amazing year that we had at Talkhouse. Listen. Have you ever heard of LCD Sound System? Ever heard of Jackie Chan? Ever heard of Edgar Wright, Priest, Darren Aronofsky, Chuck D? They were on the podcast. Tom Morello on the podcast. Frankie Cosmos, Kumail Nanjiani, David Cross, Stephen Malcolmus, Vagabond, Thurston Moore, Barry Jenkins, Moonlight. Barry Jenkins was on the podcast. Tim Heidecker, The Flaming Lips, Seth Meyers, and so many, many more. We had a fantastic year, and to break it down, I'd like to introduce a bunch of the Talkhouse squad. Nick Dawson, editor-in-chief of film, welcome to the program.
I am here.
Listeners, remember, he's got the Scottish accent.
Not really, technically not Scottish, but maybe a little brogue there, tiny bit.
Amy Rose Spiegel, a.k.a. ARS1, editor-in-chief on the music side. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, my dude.
Always good to have you, man. And listen, the one, the only, joining us for the very first time, finally, marketing manager, Keenan Cush.
Thanks, Elia.
Dude, glad to have you with us. He's the one without the Scottish accent, listeners, so you can tell them apart later. Guys, we had a hell of a year, and I just wanted to see if you could tell the listeners a little bit about it. Nick, would you mind talking about our collaboration with the flagship Sonos store in Manhattan?
Absolutely. We had a great year. We got to Sonos, hanging out, getting cool people there from the music side, the film side. We had Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips and the legendary hip-hop producer Prince Paul.
Shouts.
Totally shouts. We had Gethard, who I love.
Shouts.
Todd Barry. We had Taron Killam and Cal Mooney, and we're going to hear from those guys in just a second, I think.
I think so.
So many cool people. Oh, Sam Beam from Iron and Wine, the man who is Iron and Wine with the lovely Michael Chernus. So many cool people. And of course, a couple of podcasts we did at Sonos were part of a new initiative that you can tell us a little bit about, Keenan.
So yeah, we started a brand new initiative this year with Food Republic, which is a food culture website. We've been co-producing some podcasts over at Sonos, the first one being Andrew Carmelini and ASAP Ferg.
And Keenan, you got to let me jump in here because the second one was, I'm a Chicago man, as our loyal listeners know. The second one was a fantastic Chicago chef, Paul Kahn, in conversation with the one, the only, Mark Eibold, he of Sonic Youth and Pavement.
Of course. And yeah, we film these podcasts. They're on our YouTube channel, so go check those out there. And speaking of collaborations, we were also at this year's Pitchfork Festival, which Amy Rose can talk more about.
Sure. So for our third year at Pitchfork, Keenan, our co-producer, Mark Yoshizumi, and I had a trailer backstage where we were recording podcasts with acts from all over the bill. Elia was actually directing us from Skynet as his daughter was being born, which was great. Best of 2017 for sure.
I'm a multitasker.
So we had some great conversations at Pitchfork, including Ohm with Jamila Woods, Knee High, an amazing Chicago band that I love, with Spencer Tweedy, who's a great friend of the site.
Shouts.
And of course, we had Priests with LCD Sound System's Tyler Pope. So a really good year for us there, too.
Those were great conversations and so awesome to be back at the festival, even if I could only see it via live stream. Well, guys, I know we have some clips chosen from some of our favorite moments from our favorite episodes, and also a couple exclusives, parts that didn't air in the original podcast. So let's jump in. I think we're going to start, Nick Dawson?
Is my turn? Is my
it's
turn?
you.
Okay.
Kick us off, man. Kick us off.
Okay. I'm ready. Born ready. We're going to start with technically a film / TV / comedy podcast that we did at Sonos. Kyle Mooney and Taron Killam. SNL, FTW. This is a little comedy, a little funniness, because I try to keep it light. 2017 was a really fun year for everybody, I know, but thank God for comedy. And there's a little musical tinge to this one as well, so this is going to lead nicely, I'm sure, into some of the music clips we have. And here's Taron Killam kicking us off by asking Cal Mooney about his exercise regime.
Is there any part of you that wants to get in like dope shape? Has ever like been like, what would it be like to get in like dope shape, like awesome shape?
The way I see it is if like a role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody pays
but no,
for
but
it.
like,
and then,
I don't know that I could, I would feel
There's always
weird.
like in being in comedy, you always kind of feel like it would be phony or it would be dishonest in some way. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be authentically me if I suddenly became, it'd be a visual.
I mean, it would be fun. I would like, at the same time, it would be fun.
I would love to be
for
able
like
to
a
do
year
20
of my
pull-ups
life
easily.
Just to be like totally jacked.
Yeah. like a summer. Like I would love to like enjoy my holidays because I always go crazy around the holiday. I enjoy them, and food is very important. And then like January 2nd, just go, it's on. And then like that first day of summer, just not into it. You're not following me there?
No, that's hot.
Okay, cool.
But what is that song?
It's from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, okay.
It's the
I thought
Phoebe
it was,
Cates, Phoebe Cates song. When
Freestyle, Don't Stop the Rock. Don't know if you know that one, but it's like...
Don't stop the rock, can't stop the rock, you can't stop
It's
the
actually,
rock.
actually,
That one?
it's do 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 do. Or is
That's
that
Push It.
by
That's
Salt
Push
and
It,
Pepper?
yeah.
Now I can't remember the melody. Of Don't. That was Don't Stop the Rock, by the way.
Oh, what am I doing?
Axel Foley. No, you're doing.
Yeah, that was, I think, one of the funniest ones we've had.
And listeners, you can check out the full video of that as well on our YouTube channel.
It's a gem.
It is a gem. I mean, Nick,
Yeah.
Carrot Top got swole, and he'd never been more popular. He's at the pinnacle of his career, right?
So I'm so unprepared to talk about Carrot Top right now. So unprepared. So unwilling as well. We do have a nice connection to the next clip, though, which was totally unplanned. But that clip referenced Phoebe Cates, and her kin is somebody that you know all about, Amy Rose.
Right, and that would be Greta from Frankie Cosmos, who we have here with her very good friend Vagabond. So a whole lot of connections going on here. Although I will say it's going to be very hard to top what turned into a beautiful music clip from the podcast, Nick. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
So these two we caught up with at Pitchfork Fest, where because they're so close, they really go in deep on a lot of issues that affect indie musicians that maybe the rest of us wouldn't think about in as much detail as they do. And they really opened up about a lot here. So one of the things that I was most surprised by was how they spoke about setting boundaries for themselves. You know, they've got great fans, but I think when you're on the road, it can be a little bit hectic to meet so many people and want to be so good to people, but not sure how to also take care of yourself.
And I think one thing, Amy Rose, and I think we might have talked about this in the episode, is these are very confessional songwriters. They're really opening their hearts to their fans. Their fans are connecting in such an intimate way. All of a sudden, the fans sort of wrapped up in their idea and their feeling of closeness to these performers sometimes cross a physical boundary.
Right, I think that can happen. So the two discuss how they contend with that while maintaining the kind of openness and mutual affection they have for their people. So should we take a listen to that?
Let's do it.
I need people to tell me that like I'm like cool, like so I'm just like forcing myself to do my own merch all the time, and then if I don't do it, I'm like, oh man, like everyone thinks I'm a brat, like I got to go do merch.
Yeah.
It's
See,
a really
that
bad
comes
addiction.
with like a whole other thing of like, am I like a bitch if I decide to opt out of this thing? Yeah.
Or even just like, am I a bitch if I like make any kind of boundary between myself and like the person that's trying to grab me?
Right. Then the answer is no.
Yeah. That's new for me too. It's being like, oh, I don't need to like let you like hug me, strange person.
Yeah.
But I don't like the idea of people thinking that they can't like talk to me. But it's a weird like fine line. I don't know. I remember like 10 years ago seeing on like Kimya Dawson's live journal this thing about
deep cut.
Yeah. And I remember at the time like not really understanding it, and then years later remembering it and being like, oh, I get that now. She like wrote this thing about like you can't hug me. Like just because you like my music, like you shouldn't get to hug me.
Yeah.
And like I love you and like that's cool, but like whatever. It was really like is really interesting. It's like, oh, that's weird. Like, why doesn't she want to hug every single person that wants to hug her? And now I'm like, oh, because like everyone wants to hug her.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It's nice because I think the people that come to our shows maybe are super respectful of that, and also just like would probably ask and like be okay with a no.
Yeah. Most people. But you'd be surprised. I'm surprised every time. I'm surprised by how many people don't ask.
Maybe I'm just giving them too much credit.
Yeah. Even like at like like even at like a really, nice, political seeming, like cool, like little college where everyone seems like they know what's up.
Yeah.
I'll get like women kissing me, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Like,
wow.
How do you not know that this is wrong?
Yeah.
But I think the further away that you get from people, the less human they like see you. They're like, oh, you're an object.
I wonder. Yeah, that's so strange.
Yeah.
So those two talk a lot about life on the road in general, but I thought that was really edifying to hear that from them. As non-performers, I mean, I know I don't think about that, so that was really interesting to hear.
Totally. So listeners, this is such great advice for everyone. Lead with the handshake, and if they want a hug, go in for the hug. I got to say, that was a very powerful clip, also incredibly powerful. I have heard unreleased new Vagabond. I have heard unreleased new Frankie Cosmos. They are both fucking banging. I cannot wait to hear the final mixes and for the world to hear that 2018 is going to be a hell of a year for both groups.
Totally. And also for more Vagabond on Talkhouse, we received an email from Leticia the other day that she is back from tour and ready to write. So look for her on the site as well. So next up, we have a clip from Keenan, who's going to tell us about boundary pushing in a whole different way.
Oh, a whole different way. This clip actually comes from Paul Major, who you might know from Endless Boogie, and he's also this really interesting psych rock record collector. Now, he's not the typical record collector where he has an entire garage filled with, endless thousands, hundreds of thousands of records. He's a very, from what I hear, a very generous record collector. He gives and he receives a lot of records with people he meets. And so Paul Major's in conversation with Stephen Malkmus.
The legendary Stephen Malkmus.
The OG king of the fucking indie world, Stephen Malkmus.
Okay, unpopular opinion. I've always been more of a Jix girl than a pavement girl. Is
Okay,
that okay to say? Oh,
Amy Rose is off the podcast.
We don't have any more time for that, I'm afraid.
Amy Rose is off the podcast forever and ever. And back to Keenan.
So this conversation took place at Bowery Ballroom. It was in conjunction with this release, Feel the Music, The Psychedelic Worlds of Paul Major. This is a nice compilation of these kind of rare hits and even just kind of abstract experimental tracks that you would never see all together on a release. And here they talk about, Major talks about his early life and kind of how he used music as a world of escapism and how to look at psychedelic music without the drugs, but still going on the trip. Let's hear the clip.
Early on, all these psychedelic elements were coming into it and this like music leaking from another dimension. It was like, the unprecedented things that was happening then. So it made me feel like a flying saucer to actually come down and, they were taking me away from my isolated life in Louisville, no more bullies chasing me and punching me and stuff like that. Now I got a world to escape into. At that point then, I used to mow lawns to get money, and every money I would get Saturday, I'd go first to the chain stores because it was a good timing, where when records came out a few months later and they bombed because they were the obscure groups that the major labels were putting out because the Doors were famous or whatever. So let's get all the groups we can find that sound like that. It would come out. So, my interest was, even from day one, I went looking for records, not looking for a record I was looking for, but looking for records that I didn't know what they were, and I'd scrutinize the covers and look for clues. And this dovetails with being a kid. About the same time, there was a famous article in Life magazine about LSD. And there was a picture in there of this guy sitting in a corner, and the caption was something like, "This guy thinks he's an orange." And so I was thinking to myself, oh man, I want to be an orange too. And I had no access to substances or anything for another 4 years, when finally I met some, high school freaks and stuff. So I had to get that experience, from those records. I'd be examining Ultimate Spinach or whatever, like, ooh, long track called Mind Flowers. This might be what tripping is like, and I'd have these fantasies. I'd listen to them and lay on my bed, and I'd imagine I was shrunk down to the size where I could walk in the grooves like they're big canyons, and I started just buying all the Strange records. It was a great time. I was out of the gate. I was getting Velvet Underground records and all the Detroit bands and stuff like this. And it just popped in my head a minute ago talking to Steve that actually before I actually got my hands on acid or anything like that, I realized I did have a psychedelic experience with music where I'd dozed off on my bed as a kid, and I woke up in the middle of Expecting to Fly, the Buffalo Springfield song. So I'm waking up, and you know how that song sounds ethereal and airy, so it's like, whoa, yeah, I'm in La La Land for sure.
And Major talks about all these really interesting stories happening throughout the 70s, 80s, in the New York scene. And yeah, I mean, doesn't everyone just want to be an orange, Elia?
Dude. One of my favorite parts of producing and hosting the Talkhouse podcast is introducing fantastic musicians who really enjoy each other's music to each other. And at that event, I introduced Steve Malkmus to Andy Rourke of the Smiths. It was a great moment to see them meet each other. A lot of respect for each other.
And not the first time we've had Steve Malkmus on the podcast. He actually talked with Emil Amos earlier this year, and that podcast is up online as well.
That ignited the Twitter war.
Oh, yeah,
with,
of course.
A Twitter tirade from Nigel Godrich, but...
Water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge. Water under the bridge. They have made up. Steve told me.
And another fantastical clip involves this trio, which Nick can tell us more about.
Yeah, so this is another one we did at Sonos. This is David Cross, Jean Grey, and Fab Moretti from The Strokes. And sometimes, when you get three really funny, awesome people in the room, something a little bit magical happens.
The chemistry here is great.
Thank you. And yeah, these guys just crushed it. These guys crushed it. And this was a moment where something just slightly sublime happened. And I just feel like we should explain that Jean Grey sort of missed her calling as a phone sex operator. She was fired on her first day, as she related earlier in this episode. And so David Cross and Fab Moretti decided to show her just how amazing she would have been. And this is what happened.
All right, ready? You ready to call?
So
all right,
ready.
Dude. All right. So
dude, you look so hot right now.
This is your brother's credit card, right?
Yeah,
my
mom's. Sorry.
Your mom's credit card?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, well, they don't put it on as a sex line. It comes up as something else, like,
cool.
International,
That's
studies,
fine.
right?
I don't
All right,
give a
here we
shit.
go.
Oh, by the way, it does come up as a sex line.
You're not on the phone.
You're
I
not
just
on
wanted
the
to tell
phone.
you that as a fact before we started.
It's ringing. It's ringing.
It didn't. That's too many numbers. Can
Oh,
you dial
shit.
it again?
Yeah, you got it wrong, dude.
Okay, let me just look at it. 1-800-899-SEXX. Okay, here we go.
Hello.
Oh, shit. Are you going to do it?
You got it.
Hey,
Hello?
baby.
Hello?
Hi,
Hello?
baby.
Hi. Oh, hello. Hey, hi. How's it going?
I'm
What's
doing
going on over
fine.
there? What?
What's going on with you, babe?
Nothing. I'm just looking for a good time, and I'm new to the area, and what are you about? What are you wearing now?
I'm wearing whatever you want me to wear. What would you like me to wear? Just to let you know, though, I do have on a shirt with a picture of a unicorn on it. Do you like that?
Yes.
Is that a child on the phone? Because I can't.
No.
I can't talk to children. I'm sorry, hon. Are there two of you there? Right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was
Hey, what's
that was
your
my penis talking. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you've got a talking penis. I like that. What's your talking penis's name, baby?
George Washington.
Okay, George. Ooh.
That's still my penis talking.
All right.
Yep.
Does your penis have wooden teeth? He doesn't have to. Okay.
Only for you.
Yeah, that turns me on. I love a wooden tooth penis. So baby, what would you like to talk about today? You and your wooden penis. Hi, Georgie.
Unicorns.
Unicorns.
Unicorns, like the kind that are on your
Shirt.
big old T-shirt.
Oh.
Or not big. I mean, I don't mean the shirt.
No,
I mean,
it's
because of your breasts.
fine.
Because your breasts is big.
It's actually an oversized shirt. I'm kind of bloated this month, so. But thank you for noticing. Do you want me to take the shirt off, or do you want me to leave it on?
take half.
Okay,
of it
it's off. Half of it's off right now.
All right.
I just cut it off,
So
actually.
is that one side off,
Penis.
or just
Penis.
up to the boobs, or is it? Is one boob showing?
Well, I just cut it down the middle. I wasn't thinking about it when I did it. It was all happening so fast. Is that turning you on?
Yes.
Yes.
My wooden teeth are chattering.
Oh, I like that chattering. What are they chattering about? Is it slavery? Because that makes me hot. Hello?
Hello? Yeah. Sorry, I'm making myself a drink. Would you like anything? Would you like a drink?
Sure,
I have whiskey and whiskey sours and whiskey Manhattans.
Oh, I'd kind of like a tab. Do you have a tab? Or a Mr. Pibb?
I'll have let's get some Mr. Pibb. Penis, go get a Mr. Pibb out of the mini fridge.
I like a penis that can bring me a Mr. Pibb out of a cold fridge. You're making me so hot right now with this half shirt. Oh, baby, yeah.
Shoot.
Dude, that was all over my shoes, man.
Sorry, but they're your beach shoes. They'll clean out. Take them to the beach. Okay, this is a great conversation. I didn't even get your name.
In case you didn't get their names, let's give them full credit. David Cross, Jean Grey, Fab Moretti from The Strokes. Fab is where it's at.
That was recorded live at the Sono store with video, and you can watch that video over on our Talkhouse YouTube channel.
You can watch it over and over again.
An episode that a lot of nerds listen to over and over again, Nick, was Sam Esmail, creator of
Mr. Robot,
and Mark Frost, co-creator of
I forget some show. It's like it's a small show.
It's like Two Mountains or something.
Two Mountains.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
Oh, named after the Chicago band.
There we go. Yeah.
Nick, big love to you for putting this together. This is nerd heaven. And I mean, when I say nerd, I mean my people heaven. These are two guys who, in different generations, have completely changed what a television show can look like.
And of course, Mark Frost and David Lynch came back just this past year.
Thank God.
To move TV to a whole different realm. Anyway, we're moving into the realm of exclusive content.
Unreleased, people.
Unreleased. This is stuff that I kind of was like, I'm going to hold this back for the best of episode. This is amazing.
I like the way you think, sir.
Yep. So this is Mark and Sam talking about indie movies in the 90s, TV now, and there's a little bit in there about Marvel that's pretty interesting.
Let's do it.
Film in the 90s was pretty invigorating. There was a lot going on that was exciting. So I think television, once we sort of moved toward the end of the independent movie house picture,
which is sad,
really sad,
because it seems like it used to be when there was a independent filmmaker, you know, they'd kind of graduate to kind of a mid-sized budget at the studio level, and then they'd do that movie, and then, you know, upon that success, it'd go up and up, but they would still kind of stay within their voice that was so interesting and unique in their little small indie. Now they get snatched up to do, you know, sequels and superhero movies, and it doesn't seem like they ever return.
I mean, I've been working in film this whole time as well as television, and I would I can't even envision doing a studio movie now. It's just, it's an assembly line.
Right.
I mean, I wrote a couple of superhero movies. I wrote for Marvel, and they both got made, and it was a horrendous experience on both occasions. The studio was awful.
Right.
Everything was done backwards. They'd make the one sheet, and they'd do the trailer, and then they'd
the
say,
release date.
Okay, now reverse engineer the movie from this.
Right.
It's like, that's no way to run a railroad. That's a way to make money.
It's a way to make product. And even when people describe it as that, this is content.
Yeah.
This is your you know, and IP. I mean, it's literally properties in the name there.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but then when I think about TV, it's like, for whatever reason, the rules were thrown away.
Elsewhere in Changing and Bending the Rules on the podcast this year, we had Shamir as the inaugural guest on a new Talkhouse podcast series called Voice Memos. The series follows artists as they go about their lives and document it firsthand for us. Shamir's episode came at a very pivotal moment in his life when he was just about to release the fabulous new Revelations, which follows up from another record he did this year, Hope. The music that he released was informed by a really unfortunate manic episode, which led to a hospitalization.
Exactly. And during that hospitalization, Shamir was diagnosed as suffering from bipolar disorder.
Yes. And so he goes into all of that and kind of the aftermath of coming out of the hospital and readjusting to his life, to his friends and family, and to his music in this clip.
And Amy Rose, I have to say, just about the process of recording and editing this podcast, one of the things that's drawn me to Shamir's music right from the beginning was his honesty and the way that he is willing to just open his heart to his listeners. And that happened, if possible, even more on this podcast than on records. This was a very emotional edit for the co-producer, Mark Yoshizumi, and I. And we were in a lot of communication with Shamir during this time. It's been amazing to see him get so much better. He's feeling great. He knows this is a condition he's going to live with, but Shamir has been very proactive in getting the help he needs and taking care of himself. He's doing fantastically. I mean, again, there is more exciting music coming from another artist we're talking about here.
Obviously, we have a lot of love for Shamir, and we're really grateful that in both his words and his art, he contributes so much to the world. So should we roll the tape?
Let's do it.
I got to tell all of my close friends about the incident, and most of them have been very supportive and, very, open about things. And I'm very happy that, I didn't lose all my friends from this, but it still kind of hurts, there's most of my friends kind of thinking that I'm a freaking psychopath, I guess, but I've been putting a lot of that energy into the music. I wrote and recorded 5 songs since I've been in Vegas and working on a release for the fall, and just got rid of my management and just kind of starting anew. I got a butterfly tattoo, which represents, new beginnings and rebirth. And I think that's kind of what this whole ordeal has been for me. It's kind of, shown me, who my real friends are. And it's also, shown me that I can, kind of get through anything. I kind of feel pretty resilient at this point. Because it's just one of those things where I've always been very careful, and I've always, tried to make all the right decisions. And, something like this that, was completely inevitable, you kind of get to a point where you're like, oh, why me, But I think everyone at some point needs to experience some kind of struggle because it makes you a stronger person. And I definitely feel like I'm becoming stronger throughout this whole ordeal. And yeah, I don't know. It's been very healing, been in the desert.
Amy Rose, you called it. We have nothing but absolute love for Shamir, not only on the podcast, but also on the site.
Right. Shamir does the incredible Shamiroscopes.
Shamiroscopes.
So if you have love for Shamir as well, go have your fortune told by Shamir and his mother, who co-write a column every month at the Talkhouse.
I love it. I love it. Now, Nick, you graced us with an unreleased clip of a film and television nature earlier on. I have been holding back my own clip for this.
Let it go. Let it go. Unleash it.
Somebody's going to start singing Frozen. But listen, I have my own unreleased clip here. This is from a conversation between the rapper Odyssey and the singer-songwriter Sinkane. They both put out rad records in 2017. And this is a clip in which Sinkane, who I will say has a rapidly growing audience, but who is not used to this type of thing happening, describes how he felt when he got the call from Usher. Check it out.
My album.
Yeah.
There's a song on there called "You Grew Up."
Mm-hmm.
I ordered these shoes. These are a pair of Nikes. I think they're called Footscapes. I can't remember. I ordered these as a gift to myself. They arrived the day that I arrived, and I put them on for the first time today. And I'm looking at your shoes, and there's a song on my album called "You Grew Up," and the lines. There's a line that says, "While I was trying to keep my Nikes clean, he was trying to scuff his Chucks up. He was grunge, I was fresh, we were young, and we cussed along the rap trying to sneak up into punk clubs. And you're wearing a pair of Converse while I'm wearing a pair of Nikes right now. And it's tripping me out."
Yeah.
Do you intentionally make your Converse dirty?
No way.
No? You don't like run them in the ground on purpose?
Not on
'Cause
purpose.
I'm definitely trying to keep my Nikes clean.
Yeah, I mean, I've had these. I have a funny story about these shoes.
Please tell me about it.
I played South by Southwest. The only time Sin Can ever played South by Southwest. Maybe 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't have these yet, and I had a pair of really beat up shoes. You know, I'm not like the sleekest walker, so I always scuff up my shit all the time. So my shoes were just ripped up, you know. And I wake up in the morning and my booking agent was calling me, and I answer the phone. He's like, "Yo, listen, man, Usher is performing the secret show, and he wants to sing your song with you." And I like hang up the phone. I was like, "Who the fuck are you?" Yeah, straight up. And
You never told me this story before.
Like, no, this is not real. I'm just waking up. This is not real. So I hang up the phone. He calls me back and he's like, "Listen, I'm serious. There's going to be a black Escalade coming up to where you're staying at noon. They're going to take you to a rehearsal space. The Afghan Wigs and Usher are doing a secret performance at the Fader Fort, and they want to sing your song, Run In With You." So I'm like, this is surreal. I don't understand what's going on here. But noon, on the dot, black Escalade pulls up, picks me up, takes me to some spot, and I walk in there, me and my manager, and Usher is singing, and the Afghan Wigs are playing, and I'm like, is this fucking real? What the hell's going on? And he comes up to me, "How's it going, man? I really like your music, really love the song. We really want to perform the song with you. Let's run it." So we run it a couple of times. And I'm still not believing what's going on, but he like had the lyrics, he was singing them, you know, with me. He's asking me, "Is that all right? Am I doing it all right?"
Usher.
And I'm like, "Yeah, Usher."
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I
And
found Bieber. Is that all right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, cool, man. So I walk out of that spot and I just start freaking out. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I can't believe this is happening. So we go the next day to the Fader Fort early in the morning, do a little like run a sound check and stuff. And I look down at my shoes and I'm like, I can't perform on stage with Usher wearing this shit. I look like a piece of shit.
Yo, Usher was like the first person to have those shoes with the wheels in them. You can't do that. You can't play yourself like that.
So, you know, Converse and Fader do a thing, and they had Chucks on site, and I got these Chucks. Those are the ones.
So those are the Usher Chucks.
These are the Usher Chucks. The Usher brand Chucks.
There it is.
Yep.
There it is. And the beauty in America is in us seeking individuality, we're both wearing shoes owned by Nike.
Yeah, man. That's how it is.
I mean, a great story. Listeners, definitely make sure you go back to check out that episode. The whole thing is pretty fantastic. Now, Nick, shall we usher in the final clip?
Let's do it. Let's usher it in. I chose a bunch of funny clips for this year. Full disclosure, I just had to. It's got to get my spirits up for 2018. It's a new year, new start.
Hell yeah.
New shoes. This is Lake Bell and Rob Corddry talking about the first time they ever worked together, what happens in Vegas. Those guys had a lot of fun on that movie. And we should probably listen to what they had to say.
For sure.
It was so funny. The only thing I remember about our conversation, because I remember us getting along from the start, and you were like, you said, well, I forget how this came up. You're like, well, I'm vegan. I'm not vegan. I mean, I eat. Well, you were so embarrassed about saying you were vegan because I think you were at a point.
Vegan.
No, but I think because you were eating meat again. All of a sudden, there's something like that, and you're like, you didn't know how. This was the first time you had to talk about it out loud. This was the story I made up in my head. Like, and you're like, okay, how do I frame this? What's this?
Sure.
What's the spin? What's my personal?
How do I feel about this?
Where am I?
Where am I with my veganism?
Who am I?
Right.
That's what I.
That's where I was.
It was really cool.
Then when we were in Vegas, I proceeded to like down copious amounts of meat.
Yeah,
right?
we destroyed
Copious.
it. Yeah, most people go and to Vegas and they gamble and they get wasted.
Ugh, hammered.
Blake and I ate at like PF Chang's
every damn day. PF Chang's.
And we sat in one of our hotel rooms waiting to get called into work. Just shooting the shit.
So much changing. I remember that. That was because it was like in our hotel.
It was in our hotel.
Yeah.
And it was like a million degrees out, and it was at night. We were shooting nights.
It was like
in
our
Vegas.
Central Perk, basically. It was like where, like, if there was like a sitcom around our existence in that space, that's where a lot of the scenes would take place at the BF Chang's.
Chandler was there.
Yeah, Chandler was always there.
Not Matthew Perry, though.
No, just Chandler.
Just the real Chandler.
Actually, just a guy. He's like a bar
behind
back.
me,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Like Bell, Rob Corddry, 2018 starts in good fashion, I think.
Great stuff. Great stuff. We have so much to look forward to. Listeners, keep it locked because we have amazing conversations coming up in near future episodes with artists like Jalen and William Basinski,
Martin Rev and Juliana Barwick.
And of course, Flock of Dimes and Wyoke's Jen Wasner with Lower Den's Jana Hunter.
and so many more exciting pairings. Keenan Kush, thanks again for everything this year.
Thanks for having me on, Elliot.
Amy Rose Spiegel, thank you.
Dude, of course, anytime. Talkhouse.com/music if you are nasty.
The one, the only, Nick Dawson, thank you.
Talkhouse.com/film if you're nice.
Talkhouse's 2017 interns were Sophie Kemp
And Annie Fell, both of whom were fantastic music journalists and whom you should look for in the wider world.
Shouts.
And Nicholas Grote.
A hell of an intern and a hell of a jazz drummer. Make sure you catch him.
Definitely.
Big shouts to our publisher, Ian Wheeler, and of course, all love and respect to our producer, Mark Yoshizumi, a.k.a. Mark the Producer, a.k.a. Lil Mark, a.k.a.
Mark in the Park,
a.k.a.
Mark After Dark,
a.k.a.
Mark's got some kind of a spark.
Listeners, if you enjoy the Talkhouse podcast, make sure to head over to iTunes or Stitcher, wherever fine podcasts are purveyed, and subscribe. While you're there, rate and review. Every time you do, it helps someone else find the podcast. I'm Elliot Einhorn, and from all of us here at the Talkhouse, Happy 2018! So cheesy. Bye.